I read some very popular books and you're not going to like all my opinions. Hey everyone, Fini here from Fini Reads. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. Today with the March wrap-up. And March, even though I didn't read many pages, was a very, very interesting month. Before I start talking about the books, as always, I want to talk stats, numbers, data, analytics. The stuff that I'm tracking on my monthly reading. If you're not interested in that, I will have like thingy-majigs down below. What are they called? Chapter thingies, where you can jump over the stats part. But if you love it, well, sit down, grab a good drink, grab a good snack, because that's what we're going to start with today. All right, so I read a total of 6 books this month. One of them was unfortunately a DNF, and a total of 2,033 pages, which... yeah, this year continues with the slow reading months, unfortunately. Usually I'm in the 3,000 realm and I'd like to go back to that. I'm not really sure why this is happening. So I might have to sit down and, you know, talk to myself a little bit to figure out what's going on. But that's where we are. 1 thriller, 1 romance, and then 4 fantasy, and that 1 DNF was in the fantasy genre. 3 books I loved. 1 book I liked, and then 1 book where I'm not quite sure yet if it's a like or a meh. We will talk about that one. I started 3 series, I continued 1 series, and then I read exclusively on my Kindle this month. So that's set of stats number 1. Set of stats number 2. One thing that I started this year now is my shelf control report. One of the big goals for me this year is to reduce the books that I have on my shelf. I need to get my physical TBR down. March, I already knew would be a crazy month because March is WonderCon month. By the way, if you haven't watched the video yet, I interviewed 23 of the authors that were exhibiting at WonderCon and had them pitch their books. So if you haven't watched that yet, go check that out. I will put that down in the description. I love putting this video together. It's always a lot of fun talking with the authors. It's a lot of work. Like, it took me about 5 hours or so to get all of these interviews done, but it is so much fun to talk with the authors, meet the ones that I've met before again and just check in on how they're doing, meet new authors again. This year were a lot of new authors that were at WonderCon, and I found some really cool new stuff. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself here. So go check out that video. All right, so on the numbers for March, I finished February with 1,127 unread physical books on my shelf. I got a total of 9 new books this month, which is a lot better though than I thought it would be. Like in prior years, I bought, I don't know, 30 books or whatever at WonderCon. So I was really mindful this year and only bought the books that I was really excited about and really had to have. So out of those 9, I read 1 already, so I just got a physical copy. I read the digital version a couple of months back. Then I didn't remove any out of my shelves in this month. And then I read 5 of my owned books. So I bought a lot. I read a lot. Unfortunately, the number got higher still at the very end. We ended up at 1,130 unread books, which is not good. So we're still not there where we started. We started at 1,133, but we're not far away from that anymore. April is going to be interesting because April is also a big book festival month. The LA Festival of Books is in April, and I'm still contemplating if I should even go at this point. I mean, again, it's one of those things where I want to say hi to a bunch of authors that I know are going to be there. You always find really cool stuff there. I know one of the writer groups that I had a speaking event not too long ago is also there and has a booth, and I would love to buy, you know, 1 or 2 books of the authors that I've met there. It's like... ooh, I really have to read a lot in April is what it comes down to, I guess. Anyway, out of the books that I hold, the amazing publisher DAW sent me an arc for The Failures by Benjamin Lear, which is one of the new releases that I'm really excited about. This is a first in a trilogy, more sci-fi. I'm just excited to read it. So I hope I'm getting to this soon. So May, June is when I'm planning to get to it. And then you'll hear more about how this is, if I like it or not. So thanks, Dahl, for sending me that copy. Then I received a Kickstarter that I backed a while ago. I already had the first book in regular paperback off that Kickstarter, but I got book 1 and 2 in a special edition. edition. For my whole unread shelf situation, I'm only counting the second book. Gorgeous. Look at these. They are so beautiful. Gorgeous copies of that Kickstarter edition. I'm really excited to be reading this. It's kind of a Dragon Rider romance type of situation. And then the 7 books that I got at WonderCon, starting with Lauren Petra-Zilka's book. I read both of them already. So she gifted me the special edition copies and signed them for me. Another author where I already read the first book, which is one of the books that we are going to talk about very, very soon, is Nicolette Andrews' book 2 in her Dragon Shapeshifter series, which is called Moonlight Dragon, and I'm very excited to talk with you about book 1. And then, yeah, just a couple of others. Moonborn is one of the new ones that I got. It's a werewolf urban fantasy, not romance from what I understand, so true, original, like old school urban fantasy with werewolves. Then I got book 2 in the Warehouse Dreams series by Teresa Halvorsen. I read book 1 a while ago and I really, really enjoyed it. I'm really excited for book 2, so I got myself a copy of that. A new author that I found is Ellie Hollis. I got 2 books from her. One book, the special edition called Raven Rebel. I honestly mostly bought it because that special edition is really, really cool and has a lot of extra special elements in it that regular special editions don't have. So I'm really excited to test it out. The other book that I got by her is a werewolf smutty romance, and I might have already read that in April, so I will talk about that in my April wrap-up in detail because that book was really, really cool. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed already, so you get to hear what my thoughts are on werewolf smut. And the last book that I got that at the LA WorldCon, LAVCon, I'm not 100% sure right now. I'm blanking what the event called. In WorldCon is maybe a term for you guys. Was in Seattle last year, was in Scotland the year before, and this year it is in LA. So I will be going. I'm very excited for that. So I went to their booth to ask a couple of questions because I would love to be a participant. So I was asking a couple of questions about that. And their booth had a bunch of books and it was like take free. Like you can grab them for free. And I grabbed this companion for Mercedes Lecky's Voldemort series to hopefully read that series very, very soon. Let's talk about the books that I actually read. I want to start with thriller, then I will talk about the romance book, and then I will talk about all the fantasy books that I read. Starting with Malice by Kigo Higashino. I don't know. That was my bookmark for this one, I guess. Kigo Higashino. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing the name quite right. Malice, which is technically book 4 in his, what is he called? Detective Kaga series. Technically book 4 in Japanese, but in English it's the first one because they didn't translate the first 3 for whatever reason. I honestly don't know. I didn't look it up either. This was a buddy read with Danielle from Bookara and Chaz from Bookish Chaz, and it was so much fun. So all 3 of us got totally hyped by Tori, and I put all their channels also down below if you want to go check them out, because she read it not too long ago, end of last year, early this year, and she hyped it up. She loved it so much. She said it's like a character-driven thriller, and character-driven is my keyword. No matter which genre. You get multiple POVs in this book. One from Osamu Nonoguchi and Detective Kaga, so you get both POVs. Osamu has been visiting a friend. The friend is moving to Canada, I believe. And, they had the conversation, and then a little later, the friend is dead. And he is the first at the scene, finds the friend, essentially, and then calls the wife and calls the police and all that kind of stuff. And you're following his POV, and then you're switching kind of irregularly to Detective Kaga's POV, and about halfway through you're kind of like, I mean, this is kind of solved, right? Like this feels like we're at the end right now. What is coming now? And then the rest, like especially part 3, like it's kind of in 3 parts, was so cool because now we're getting to see Detective Kaga's view exclusively, and he is really digging into the case and trying to figure out the motivation, the why, how things actually worked out, and that was super interesting. I've never seen something like this done before, and it was so much fun to read. And all 3 of us, Chess, Danielle, and I, were like texting in our little buddy read chat. It was like, oh, this is so cool. What is going on? It is like from a Western mind written very differently, but from a Japanese mind, very traditional Japanese. So there are a lot of things that culturally absolutely make sense and that are just different for a Westerner. And that made it extra interesting for me because, again, I've never before read such a very typical Japanese thriller in that sense. Definitely a convert now. It was a lot of fun. I want to continue reading the series. I want to read his other series. He has another, I believe it's another series. It's not standalones. Also detective series. Like there's a lot of cool stuff when it comes to Japanese thrillers. So I'm very, very excited about having tested that and liking it as much as I do. The romance book that I read is Susan Elizabeth Phillips, an author that I have to pronounce the name very, very slowly because it's such a difficult one to say fast. Her latest book in the Chicago Star series came out. She is an author, like, I've been reading her forever, if she was not even my first romance author that I've read. She's a more traditional contemporary romance author with very, very little smut, if any at all. And it's very much about the relationship and the persons that are part of that relationship. Usually it's about two people somehow in stress, like they lost their job or they got kicked out or got handed the Chicago Stars, even though they have no clue what's going on. You know, it's usually there's something going on in their life and then they end up in the situation with the other person and somehow together they get better. That's in general the recipe for her Chicago Stars books, and I'm eating it up. Listen, I've read all 11, some of those multiple times over the years, and I'm loving this. And The Crowd Went Wild, which is the latest one, is not my favorite. It lost a little bit of the spark. Maybe I just got older too. I don't know. This was not her best one. I would say there are others that I love more, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had fun. I read a really good romance. I will not complain. Moving into the fantasy genre, I will start off with my DNF. I think it is a soft DNF because I believe it was the wrong time to read this book. So, and I'm talking specifically about Lam-Ang, which is the first book in Herbert de Leon's Alamet book series, which is a Filipino-inspired fantasy story. It's based on Filipino folklore and Filipino myths and a character. Like there is a story around Lam-Ang, like it's a known mythology in the Philippines. Not based off of my knowledge, based off what I've grasped from this. So, and this is about, well, Lam-Ang and how he came to be, how he came to the world, who he is, what his kind of special abilities are, what his goal is. And it is written in a little bit younger fashion, more towards like middle grade, young adult, although it has themes of like consuming your marriage in there. Not on paper, it's just described exactly as, and now they consumed their marriage. Like it's really that neutral in that sense. Once I got used to a little bit younger writing, I actually really like that story. It's very matter of fact. Like the way the story is told is very matter of fact. You get to meet the people, you get to know how life in the village is, and then you get go on adventures with Lam-Ang. While I enjoyed the story, somehow I couldn't get into it, and I started stumbling over things, and because there are a lot of words in there that are specific to this world, so I started writing a glossary at one point. like I wrote a lot of stuff up and then I was like, screw this, I'm buying the ebook. And then I started marking all the words on ebook and I stopped at 100. I couldn't fully get into it, and I don't think it's the book's fault. I think it was just my mental state that I was in. I didn't really vibe with the story at that moment and I couldn't really get into. And so I decided to stop and put it down instead of forcing my way through and then not liking it at the end of the day, because it is really, really interesting. And I love, again, kind of the cultural aspects of that and seeing all of these things that are happening in the village and how they live their life and, you know, how they prepare for babies and all that kind of stuff. I hope I will pick up where I left off in the middle of, he was in the middle of a big adventure with a crocodile or alligator. I'm not quite sure. And I hope I'll get back into the hex and we'll continue that. So that's why I'm thinking soft DNF for this one. Next up, I teased that one a little bit already, was Dragon's Deception, book 1 in the Moonlight Dragon series by Nicolette Andrews. Full disclosure, she gifted me the book last year during WonderCon when I did my video with, you know, like last year's version of this video. She was like, oh, you're a reviewer. Here's a review copy. I was like, okay. I would have bought it because it sounds really interesting, and I finally got to it. Yay! And I loved it. This was so cool. So half a step backwards. This is a shapeshifter, dragon shapeshifter romance fantasy. There's very, very little spice. There's just one spicy scene on paper. Yes, it is about the relationship. It's kind of a fake engagement to lovers situation. But Nicolette did also a lot of really cool stuff with just the world and the magic and the shape-shifting and whatnot a lot of unique things too that I found very, very interesting. So this is what Princess Liane, who also deals with disabilities, like she gets fevers and gets exhausted and that kind of stuff and has to deal with that. Second oldest daughter. And Erich is also a prince. I hope that's technically not a spoiler because he's not showing that at the beginning. It comes out a little bit later. I don't think that's a spoiler. Anyway, prince. He's a prince. He put himself into exile because he's a dragon shifter. And in this world, magic is a big no-no. And if people would figure out that he has this curse, they would basically kill him. And he's trying to hide this, that he has this superhuman strength and that he has this were-dragon that wants to come out every full moon, and that he is corrupted in that sense. So he's trying to hide that, but he's trying to find a cure. So, and he's hoping that through the princess, he is getting closer to a cure. Like he has to do something, he gets himself into something that involves that princess or the family of the princess, and he's trying to get a cure through them. That's why he agrees to that fake engagement. And she is trying to keep suitors that her mom is trying to set her up with at bay by pretending to be, involved with him. So that's kind of the bigger picture story. And there's a lot of political intrigue going on, a lot of devastating situations going on. There's a lot of stuff happening in that story, a lot of stuff happening for it being like a quote-unquote romance that makes it really entertaining, not boring at all. And the coolest thing for me was how the were-dragon situation plays out. The way Nicolette described how the dragon is lurking underneath the skin, essentially, of Erich, and how he's trying to break the chains and come out, and how he's trying to take over. And just these descriptions of how the dragon is within Erich the entire time was so cool. And that's one of the big unique things, I think, in this series. So I'm really, really excited for book 2. 2 more books to go. Now we're getting to the one that you might not like me for. I read Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This is a buddy read over on the Bookish Drummer Discord together with Stacy from the Chapter Conundrum. She organized a whole read-through of the entire series in anticipation of Book 7, which I don't think we have a release date as of yet, but it's rumored to be 2026. So she scheduled the books not 1 month at a time, like I think April is actually a gap, and there's another gap later because they get pretty chunky too, right, as we progress. This was supposed to be in January, Golden Sun in February, and Morning Star in March. Well, guess I'm behind. But I finally started reading it, also because I met Pierce Brown and Ryan Cahill at Ryan Carhill's world tour, and Pierce Brown was interviewing him. So I thought, maybe I should read one of the two's books at least. So I started with this one, and I did not vibe with this one very well. I like the Hunger Games trope, and I like this quite a bit in this book. I did not like the characters. I did not like the writing. I did not like the totally overdone everything in the story. So in case people don't know what it is about, there are still people out there who haven't read this series. This is about a class system. So you have lower class and upper class, very typical in the Hunger Games manner where the upper class suppresses the lower class. The reds are the lowest of the lowest, and the golds are the highest of the highest. And then there are various other classes in between. They are all color-coded, essentially. And the red ones live underneath the ground. They are digging up, I forgot what it was. They're digging up something. And they're actually thinking that they are still helping to terraform the planet. And that is kind of a big, very important role, that they are all there to help terraform the planet so people can live above the ground eventually. Well, it turns out there are already a lot of people above the ground, and they're keeping it in secret from those reds, and no one is telling them, obviously, because they want them to keep digging whatever it is they're digging. I forgot. But one of them sees it and gets executed for it, but he's not fully killed, and he gets then thrown into a rebellion, and he is being transformed into a gold so he can infiltrate the golds and then start the rebellion from within there. He's 16 at that time, but already has all the big feelings, a lot of ball sweat too. Oh, he lost his wife too. The reason why this is kind of an afterthought, because I don't really believe that part. There was a lot of telling, not showing. He loves her. Oh my God. He loves her. Like there's nothing else except her, and she's so beautiful. I mean, all the women are beautiful in this book. My goodness, this is so annoying. But she's the most beautiful out of them all. And that's kind of the only thing I really got, that he thought she's beautiful. And I don't know if you can love someone just because you think they're beautiful, but sure, whatever, 16-year-old boy, it works, I guess, at that age. And she gets killed too. And that's kind of what motivates him to be in the rebellion. I find that a very reason to be motivated to be in a rebellion. I don't believe the love. I don't believe that, especially because after she's dead, every woman he meets, he describes how beautiful that woman is. Yeah, there's sometimes with the, oh, but Io is more beautiful. Beautifuler, more beautiful, whatever. It's very... So clearly I did not vibe with it. The reason why I read it, I mean, I would have DNF'd this thing 100 pages in, but the reason why I read it is because everybody's saying Golden Sun is so much better, and this is just because he had to write something to get, into the contract, blah, 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 blah. And he being Pierce Brown is not even really loving it. You see how I'm like, I need to put it down because I'm so annoyed with this book. He just had to write something that would sell, and then with book 2 he started writing what he wanted to write. Well, we'll talk about Golden Sun in my April wrap-up. I'm about 100 pages into Golden Sun at this point. Anyway, we're talking Red Rising. Yeah, not great. I was not a fan. Very choppy, short sentences. Very overdone in so many ways. Very juvenile, too. 16-year-old boy, right? It fits right into that, and I'm just not the right audience for that. I mean, I'm 41-year-old woman. I cannot relate with 16-year-old boys. I'm sorry. And all these women are so beautiful. Again, I understand that there's a certain extent of all the golds are gorgeous and beautiful, but my goodness, you don't have to tell me that with every single woman you are meeting. There's one but. The ending. I found the ending very fascinating, and that's why I'm hovering between a kind of lower level like and a meh, because the ending had elements that I really, really liked. And that the ending actually surprised me. I didn't think he would make that decision that he made. And that was the moment where I was like, okay, well, let's see how that then continues in Golden Sun. I had way too high hopes for this book. I should have toned it down by quite a bit, and then maybe I wouldn't have been as disappointed. But yeah, I did not like it at all. Nope. Moving over to the total opposite of this. And that is Assassin's Apprentice. I finished Robin Hobb's Assassin's Apprentice. I talked a little bit about that already in my February wrap-up because I started reading it at the end of February, but I finished it in March. And you guys, where with Red Rising, I overhyped it for myself, I underhyped this one. I did not expect to love this as much as I did. I love Fitz. So, again, for those who haven't read it yet, Robin Hobb, Assassin's Apprentice, is about Fitz, a young boy, 6 years old. That's when we start in the book, 6 years old. He's being brought to the Duke, I believe is the title. He's brought to the Duke and be like, hey, I took care of this brat for 6 years. Now it's your turn. You're the father. You impregnated my daughter, whatever. And drops the boy off and leaves. And the boy is totally, he's shy and doesn't really know what's happening, doesn't fully understand what's going on. But he's taken in by the staff of Duke, I think is the wrong title for that, but Prince, Duke, one of those. He's taken in, the staff is taking care of him. One of the staff members is assigned to take care of him, happens to be the stable master. So he learns from him on how to take care of the dogs and the horses and all that kind of stuff. And then in the book, we are following Fitz as he's growing up. So by the end of the book, he's in his teenage years, 16 maybe? I'm not 100% sure. So quite a few years that we are covering during the story. And we're going really deep with Fitz. We are learning a lot of things, but no questions answered. So we're actually getting a lot of questions in this book, and there are so many cool questions that we are getting that I'm so excited to figure out, okay, where this is going, especially when it comes to the magic system and his history and his abilities and, some of the little scenes that we saw on what those actually mean. And from that perspective, I absolutely loved it. All of everything, the magic system, Fitz, the whole world, all of this was incredibly well done. And then on top of that, the writing is just very engaging and it's so much fun to follow along. The one thing, and that is the worst thing that I always find in books, is when you kill animals, especially animals that don't need to be killed. If there are other ways on how you can solve the situation other than killing the animal, and it feels kind of like you did it just for the effect that you're getting from that. I hate that. I hate that with a passion. In general, not just fantasy books, but in any book where it is an extreme violence that could be solved in other ways without this extreme, and you still could get a reaction out of the reader without taking it to that extreme. That's the one thing that really, really bothered me. And I know there was a reason for things. Again, I get it. But you could have solved things differently. It would have taken maybe a bit more work. You know, it's easier to kill someone off. But you could have done it anyway. So I think I made my point. I hate that. I hate that. I hate that. I hate that. And it happened twice in this book. Well, technically 3 times, but I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. That's why it's not a super all-time love. Like it dinged it a little bit for me because it really pissed me off. And I really had to put down the book for a day or 2 after the first situation of those and be like, I don't know if I want to continue reading that. That's how much it pissed me off. And then I decided, no, okay, let's see. I'll continue. And then it happened again. I had to put it down for a day. And I was like, why are you doing this to me? Fork. Anyway, so long rant on that one. Still a fantastic book. I will continue book 2. I hope I get to it in April. I really, really want to know how it continues with Fitz. I don't mind sad things. Like, I don't mind if characters go through hardship. I'm reading Green Rider and that character goes through hardship like no other. But again, no unnecessary killing in that series. Scenes that are not necessary that you could have solved differently. Anyway, I'm getting off my high horse. Your conclusion should be read Assassin's Apprentice. It's a dang good fantasy. My goodness, I'm really mad at myself that I waited so long. And a big breath. Whew. I talked a lot. I'm sorry. I'm not. But, you know. What was your favorite book in the month of March? Let me know down in the comments. I want to hear what you read and what you enjoyed last month. And then while you're down there, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the like button. Share the video if you feel like it's a good video and worth sharing, I guess. You know the drill. You know what you can do. You've not been on YouTube for the very first time, I think. If you've been, let me know down in the comments. I can say hello. Thank you so much for listening to my ramblings. They were very rambly today. I apologize for that, although I had a lot of fun rambling, so half apology, I guess. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day and that I'll see you soon with my next video. Bye, guys.